Good afternoon, guys. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Let's start. Okay. Imaging equipment and maintenance. Okay. So, dito sa subject na to, ang first nating pag-uusapan is yung electricity. Okay. So, sa X-ray, the primary function ng X-ray imaging system is to convert yung electric energy into electromagnetic. Okay, so the reason we have the X-ray equipment, ang pinaka-energy converter natin is the X-ray machine. Okay? Ang pinaka-input natin, of course, the electric energy, and yung pinaka-output natin will be the electromagnetic. Okay? So, in short, yung main job niya is, yun nga, to convert the electricity to X-rays. Okay? Then, itong electric energy na to, they are supplied to the X-ray imaging system in the form of well-controlled na electric current. Okay? So, ang system natin, they do not use random electricity. Okay? They use precisely controlled the current and voltage. Okay? So, sa imaging system, we have several control parameters like yung kVp, which controls the energy. Okay? So, dun papasok yung ating electrostatics. And Ma for the number of electrons. Okay? So, dun naman papasok yung electrodynamics. And for the exposure time, which controls the duration of the exposure itself. Okay? So, well-controlled is very important kasi kung halimbawang too much yung current, it will lead to tube damage. Diba? And kung too little naman, syempre, yung images natin will be poor. Okay? So, pwede magkaroon ng quantum model and so on. And, syempre, yung inconsistencies naman will be dangerous kasi hindi natin sure kung safe yung doses, 'di ba? Kasi unstable and inconsistent. Okay? Malinaw po ba 'yon? Also, ah sa X-ray, kapagka kinonvert yung energy, most of the energy kasi is, 'di ba, 99% ay heat and only 1% ay X-rays. So, bakit kaya mostly ay heat? Anyone? Ba't kaya puro heat? Okay, siyempre, si ano kasi, si electrons, once na nag-collide siya sa target, sa tungsten target natin, yung interaction na yun will cause, alam niyo yun, yung atomic vibration. Eh, siyempre, yung vibration na yun is also equivalent to heat, ba? So, kaya tungsten yung gamit natin, kasi siya yung isa sa mga, materials na kayang mag-tolerate ng high melting point, 'di ba? Meron siyang melting point na 3,410 degrees Celsius. Okay? And also, yung anodes natin para ma-tolerate niya yung, constant na pagbato sa kanya ng electrons, so kailangan na hindi siya alam niyo yun, yung mag-give in. Okay? Kaya ang develop na anodes natin is rotating. Okay? And also, do sa ating subject, kailangan na ma-manage natin magamit natin ng ayos yung machine in a way na, meron tayong heat management. Okay? So, dun sa ano naman, dun sa 1% na X-rays, 'di ba, yung small fraction na yun, so nagiging X-ray siya sa pamamagitan ng dalawa. 'Di ba, we have, Bremsstrahlung radiation and characteristic. Okay? So, si Bremsstrahlung, from its word na Brems, ang ibig sabihin is breaking radiation. Konting ano lang, konting review lang mula do'n sa inyong past na rad physics, okey? So, pagka sinabing breaking, nag-slow down. So, bakit nag-slow down? Yung X-rays kasi na na-produce, na-decelerate yung high-speed electrons na yun or ang nangyari sa kanya kasi ay na-deflect nung nucleus ng target atom. So, bakit nangyari yon? 'Di ba, sa electron, from the cathode, so nagta-travel siya at high speed toward the anode. So, as it approaches the tungsten nucleus, which is, yun nga, high, mataas yung atomic number niya, so ibig sabihin maraming protons. And, the nucleus will pull the electron and it slows down. Okay? Yung slowing down kasi na yun, and nawala yung kinetic energy. Okay? But yung loss ng kinetic energy na yun ng electron will be emitted as an X-ray photon. Okay? So, tandaan nyo lang na dito kay Bremstra lang, it occurs at any energy of electron. Okay? Kaya siya tinatawag na continuous spectrum. And most nung ating X-ray beam is Bremstra lang, around 70 to 90%. Diba? So, yung X-ray energy, it varies depending on how much the electron slows down. Okay? And also, kapag mataas yung ating target, mataas ang atomic number, so more Bremstra lang X-rays yung mangyayari. Okay? So, in short, basta yung sa Bremstra lang nag-occur siya because there is an electron na nag-travel near the nucleus, nag-decelerate siya, and again, yung loss ng kinetic energy niya became an X-ray photon. Okay? Yung characteristic naman, mula doon sa its word na characteristic, ibig sabihin yung identity. 'Di ba? Identity or ibig sabihin yung fixed na energy ng isang atom. Okay, so paano naman nag-occur si characteristic radiation? So, na-produce yan when the incident electron ejects an inner shell electron. Okay? Na-eject niya mula do'n sa target atom and magkakaroon ng, alam niyo yung energy cascading. Okay? So, ang mangyayari kasi, since napatalsik na sa inner shell, so si outer shell lilipat or magda-drops down to fill the vacancy. Okay? So, again, ang nangyari sa kanya, yung inner shell or yung key shell electron ng tungsten ang natamaan. Okay? And, ang energy difference is released as an energy or sorry, as an X-ray photon. So, ganun siya. Kaya na-produce si characteristic radiation. Again, doon sa characteristic, fix yung energy. Unlike doon sa Bremstra lang na it varies, di ba? And also, basta ganun siya, yung outer electron, if-fill niya yung inner shell vacancy, then it will emit X-ray of specific energy. So, yung correction niya do'n sa ating, tube settings, siyempre kapagka gumamit tayo ng sa KVP, so naapektuhan niya yung maximum ng Bremstra lang energy. Okay? Whether electrons can produce characteristic X-rays. And siyempre, sa MA naman, naapektuhan niya yung numbers of X-ray, but not the malinaw? Nag-lock. So, putting all together, use of flow ng energy sa X-ray natin, 'di ba, we have electrical energy, then we have kinetic energy, then magkakaroon ng target interaction, and Next is yung production. So, 99% ng heat and 1% ng X-rays. Okay. So, ang connection niya doon sa electrostatics and electrodynamics is yung electrostatics, doon pumapasok kasi yung tinatawag nating high voltage, which is the kVp, at saka yung fixed charges ng cathode and anode, and yung electric field, inaccelerates niya yung electrons. Sa electrodynamics naman, doon pumapasok yung electron flow, which is yung MA, yung current across the tube, and syempre, si MA, or sa electrodynamics, dinidetermine yung quantity ng X-rays. Okay? So, those things are required for energy conversion. Malinaw? So, mag-start tayo sa electrodynamics. Electrostatics. Ano tayo? Okay? So, when we say electrostatic, ibig sabihin, study ng stationary. Okay? Again, stationary na electric charges. And also, sa electrostatics, yung study ng distribution of fixed, okay, fixed charges. Okay? Pag sinabi kasing stationary, it means not moving through a conductor. Pero, they can still exert force, okay, o yung kinetic energy, and create electric fields. Okay, so ano-ano ba yung mga stationary charges? Siyempre, ayun yung mga charges na mula doon sa word na yun, they remain at rest, do not form an electric current, but they can still attract or repel other charges. Okay? Next is dito sa electrostatics, yung photon energy. Okay, so yung relationship ng energy, ng frequency at wavelength, 'di ba? Si energy at si frequency is magkaparehas. Okay? Or directly proportional. 'Di ba? And yung wavelength is inversely proportional dito sa dalawang ito. Okay? So, bigyan tayo ng example. Halimbawa, wait lang, lagyan lang natin. Energy is directly proportional to frequency and inversely proportional sa wavelength. So, for example, meron tayong X-ray. Ang wavelength niya, di ba, maliit lang. Tapos madami, mabilis. Ay, wait lang. Okay. Wala kasi akong stylus. Teka. Yan. Di ba yung X-ray? Tapos, ang visible light, or sige, kahit ano na lang, infrared. Okay? Di ba ganyan siya? Yung wavelength niya. So, comparing these two, when it comes to energy, syempre, mas mataas ang energy ni X-ray kaysa nitong sa infrared. Diba? And also, yung frequency, diba, ang pinag-uusapan sa frequency is yung dalas. Diba? So, kung bibilangin natin yung sa wavelength, diba, mas madami syempre dun sa X-ray. And sa infrared, so, madalang lang. And kung makikita nyo, yung wavelength niya, syempre, mas mataas yung sa infrared and mas mababa yung sa X-ray. So, tulad ng relationship nila, syempre, pagtaas nitong energy and frequency, syempre, ang wavelength nun, pagbaba. And so on. So, magkabaliktad sila. Malinaw? Malinaw po ba yon? Okay. Next ay okay. So, ito pa pala, itong matter. So, sabi sa penguin, si matter has mass and energy equivalence. Okay? And matter may also have electric charge. So, may. Diba? Pag sinabing matter, so, it is anything that has mass and occupies space. Right? And yung mass, it represents yung form ng stored energy. Okay? And yung kanyang resistance to acceleration, which is the inertia. Okay? Sa subject natin, yung mass, it matters because it determines how particles interact with matter. Diba? Kaya tayo ay na-discuss yun doon sa inyong past na radiation physics. Okay? And you have to remember, may heavier particles, they behave very differently from electrons. Okay? So, ang representation niyan ay yung ating, yung famous na Einstein's equation. Diba? Yung EMC squared. Diba? So, energy is equals to mass, and yun nga, yung sa speed of light. Okay? So, you have to remember that even small amount of mass, it corresponds to a huge amount of energy. Okay? And also, yung sinabi ko kanina na matter may have electric charge kasi depende dun sa matter. Meron kasi, di ba, doon sa ating periodic table, di ba, may mga neutral, which they have equal protons and electrons. And yung matter na they could be negatively charged if they have excess electrons, and positively charged if they have deficit electrons. Okay? And also, yung ating atom, they have diba, charged particles. Diba? Doon pumapasok yung electron, yung proton, and yung neutron. Okay, so kung pagmamasdan nyo, yung mass niya, at saka yung yun nga, yung mass number is different. Diba? So, paano nag-occur na itong mass number is 0? Ito si proton and si neutron. Then, si electron is 0 lang. So, nako-compute yan. So, para makuha yan, diba? They have, ang gagawin nyo guys, para makuha yung AMU, so, i-divide nyo lang siya sa mass in kilograms. Okay, so yung AMU na yan, hindi naman siya nalimot randomly. So, kinompute yan by using carbon 12 atom as the basis. Diba? So, carbon 12 yung ginamit para makuha yung AMU. Kasi guys, si carbon 12 is stable and also abundant. Okay? Si carbon 12, they have exactly 12 nucleons. Okay? Which is 6 na proton and 6 na neutron. Okay? So, and because of that, they can be measured precisely. So, kaya, yun yung ginamit para, alam niyo, para ma-compute si AMU. Okay? And the mass of one carbon 12 atom is 1.99 by 1.9926 times 10 raised to negative 26. Okay. So, iaano mo pa yan, i-divide mo pa by 12. So, ang isang AMU, guys, ay i-screenshot nyo lang, i-take note nyo lang. So, para ina-explain ko lang naman yung ano, kung paano nag-come up do sa mga ganong numbers. Hindi ko makipagko-compute, don't worry. Pero kailangan niyo pa rin tandaan 'tong mga ganitong values. Okay? Malay niyo maisip, baka yun yung maisip kong itanong. Okay? So, yan. Ito guys ay galing sa itong star na to. Yan. So, galing yan sa yung pinaka-mass ng isang carbon-12 atom. Okay, tapos dinivide lang natin sa 12. Okay, so kaya yan ang equivalent na isang AMU. Now, para makuha yung pinaka yung tinatawag nating kung ilang AMU ang isang particle, so ang gagawin nyo lang, mula doon sa mass niya, i-divide nyo lang dito sa 1.6605 times 10 raised to negative 27. Okay, i-divide nyo lang siya dito. Okay? So, example, na-screenshot nyo na to guys? Or na-i-note sa inyong mga papel? Okay. So, burahin ko ulit. Hirap pala pag maghapong nangawa. Wala nang nalalamunan ko. Pero, ano pa rin ako guys, audible pa rin naman. Kahit malat na. Okay naman, naririnig pa. Carry pa. Okay. So, ganito. Yung, for example, proton, yung proton, so ako na lang kasi ang merong access doon sa aking PowerPoint ngayon kasi hindi siya naka-share. So, ang isang proton, yung mass na, yung kanyang mass ay ito. So, screenshot nyo na lang kasi ako na lang ang may access. 1.67 times 10 raised to negative 27. Okay. Tapos, meron tayo kanina. Diba? Yung 1.6605 times 10 raised to negative 27. Ngayon, yung dalawang yan, pag-aanihin nyo lang. Pag-divide din lang. So, ako na din yung nag-divide. Ang kanyang AMU, guys, is 1.007 AMU. Yan. So, yan yung proton natin. Ngayon, si neutron is ang kanyang pinaka mass, teka lang, is 1.675. Ayan. 1.675 times 10 raised to, I think, negative 38. Recheck ko. 27 din, sorry. Okay, neutron na ito guys, neutron. So, ang total niyan ay 1.008. Yan, sa neutron yan. Ngayon, sa electrons naman, ang kanyang weight is slightly, teka, (9.109) times 10 raised to, ito pala ang 38. Yan, electrons na to guys. Okay. So, yung total niyan is, I think, 0.005. Yan. So, comparing these two, guys, comparing sa protons at saka sa electrons, 'di ba? Pagka nabubulol ako. Pinag-divide mo yung kanilang parehas na weight. Okay, halimbawa, pinag-divide nyo yung itong 9.11 at saka yung weight ng protons na 1.67 times 10 raised to negative 27. So, pag mo yan, si proton, guys, ay mas mabigat siya ng 1,836 times na heavier. So, kaya kung mapapansin nyo sa isang atom, ang gala is yung electron. Kasi magaan lang siya. And si proton, naka-attach siya, nandun siya sa nucleus mismo. So, kaya mas matindi yung pull sa kanya. And hindi siya basta na-i-eject. Okay? And by numbers, ang gawin nyo lang dyan, pagka pinag-divide nyo ito, diba, ito, yung si proton, 1.67, diba? Times 10 raised to negative 27. At saka itong 9.11 times 10 raised to negative 38. So, pag pinag-divide mo yan, ito times 10, tapos pag-addin nyo lang itong dalawang negative. So, ang result nito is, ito ay wait lang, pag pinag-divide mo yan, 1.83, 10 raised to 4. Okay? Or, pag kinumpute mo pa yan, ayan, nasa ganyan. So, yan yung difference nila. So, mas ganun kabigat si proton compared to electron. Diba? So, yan yung sole reason kung bakit gala si electron and si proton is not. And, syempre, kung by visualizing them, talagang, yun nga, nasa outer kasi yung position and also yung lapit niya sa nucleus. Yung pull na tinatawag. Okay? So, going back sa electric charge, so, we have either positive and negative. Okay? Ang negative natin is the electron. Okay? So, these two are the smallest unit. Okay? Ang positive natin is the proton and the smallest unit natin is the electron. Now, ang fundamental unit natin, guys, we call this coulomb. Kasi, guys, yung kapag ang ginamit nyo na unit is yung electron, sobrang tiny niya para ma-recognize as a unit. Okay? Or, para na masabi nating practical value siya. Okay? So, kaya ang gagawin natin, so, kailangan na meron siyang bunch o pagsamasamahin nyo yung electron na yon. So, para magkaroon siya ng practical value. Okay? So, kaya doon pumapasok yung coulomb. Okay? So, again, when we say coulomb, ibig sabihin siya ay bunch of electrons. Okay? So, sa electrostatics kasi, we measure how those bunches of charges interact. Okay? So, meron doon sa law of electrostatics, so, mababanggit doon yung Coulomb's law. Okay? And kung pagmamasdan yung Coulomb's law, yung parang behavior niya, so parang kapareha siya ng inverse square law. Okay? What else? Yun lang. And also, guys, sa electrostatics, we have two important concepts. Though ito ay may explore natin further doon sa Ohm's law. Okay? So, we have two. The electric potential, which is the voltage. So, yun yung parang pinaka-measurement niya. So, volt is a potential energy per unit charge. Okay? And also, pagka inano natin yan sa per coulomb, ang isang volt is also equivalent sa 1 joule per coulomb. Okay? And electric current naman, so siya ay yung flow ng electric charge per unit time. And ang kanyang pinaka-measurement is amperes. Okay? And ang 1 ampere, it is equivalent to 1 coulomb per second. Okay? So now, i-ano ko lang ng konti yung electric potential. So, yung electric charges natin, they have potential energy. Okay? And when positioned close to each other, so like electric charges, meron siyang electric potential energy kasi they can do work when they fly apart. Okay? Pagka kasi, di ba, like charges, because of yung law ng electrostatics, which is yung repulsion attraction, or in short, like charges repel, unlike charges attract. Okay, like charges attract. So, kung halimbawang kapag kasi sila i-distributed dun sa, for example, sa isang surface, so medyo magkakalayo yung mga yan kasi, yun nga, nire-repel nila yung isa't isa. So, galit-galit sila, magkakalayo. Okay? Pero guys, depende sa shape. Kapag may pointed na area, so yung electrons na yun, nag-iipon-ipon doon sa isang pointed na area kasi they create an electric potential kasi yung electrostatic repulsive force, it causes yung force na yun, it causes some electrons to move along the wire so that work can be done. Okay, kaya pagka may mga pointed na areas, nagsasama-sama sila doon. And doon sa mga curved na surface, naghihiwa-hiwalay sila. Okay? So, kaya, for example, yung aming naging patient dati, nung nakuryente siya, pumutok yung mga dulo ng daliri niya. Kasi, doon sa dulo ng daliri, doon concentrate yung mga electrons. So, kaya, pumutok yung mga dulo. Lahat ng dulo. Okay? Nasundan? Dito naman sa part na to ng electrostatics, di ba nabanggit ko na ang smallest unit ng electric charge is the electron. Okay? Tulad yan na sabi ko kanina, yung charge na yun is too small to be useful. So, yung fundamental unit of electric charge is the coulomb. Okay? And by numbers, guys, pag tinanong sa inyo, gano'ng kadaming electron para masabi na 1 coulomb siya or isang bunch. Okay? So, tandaan nyo to. Ang isang coulomb, para makakuha ng coulomb guys, so, ganito kadaming electron charges. 6.3 times 10 raised to 18. Okay? Ganun kadami. Now, pag tinanong naman, what is the electrostatic charge ng isang electron? So, ang gawin nyo lang, yung 1 coulomb, i-divide nyo. I-divide nyo dito sa 6.3. Kung ayaw nyo mag-compute, so, pwede nyo itong tandaan na lang. Okay, 1.6 times 10 raised to negative 19. Okay, coulomb per electron charge. So, ganun siya kadami. Nasundan? Okay, again, 1 coulomb is equals to ganito kadaming electron charges. Then, kung halimbawa naman, electrostatic charge ng isang electron, so, pag-divide nyo lang siya. So, ganyan. Okay? Any questions? Sunod nating pag-usapan guys ay yung electrification. Okay? So, masasabi natin na yung isang object is electrified kapag meron siyang too few o too many na electrons. Okay? Ang isa sa ngayon, pagka too few, yung electrons, so positively charged yun kasi few ang negative. Pagka labis ang negative, so negatively charged siya. Or meaning, excess may excess electrons. Okay? Sa ating ground naman, our Earth, so siya yung object that behaves as a reservoir ng mga stray electric charges. Okay? So, the reason why, halimbawa, naglakad ka sa isang carpet. Okay? So, habang naglalakad ka sa carpet, so, yung paa mo, nakakapagtanggal siya ng excess na electrons. And, dahil naibigay mo yun dun sa ground, tapos humawa ka sa isang metal knob. Okay, so ang gagawin since may kulang sa'yo, so may magbibigay sa'yo, may magdadagdag. Okay, so once na nagkaroon ka ng contact sa metal knob, so magta-travel yung electrons dun, kaya para ka na kuryente. Tapos saktong naka-apa ka sa ground. Okay, so nag-flow sa iyo yung electricity. Though mild, kasi naman siya, because of contact. Okay? Now, sa electrification, meron tatlong uri or tatlong way ng transfer or movement of electron from one object to another object. Okay? Yung una ko na ibigay na examples is by contact. Like, when two objects touch, so it permits the electrons to move from one atom to the other. Okay? Another example is yung by friction. Okay? Pagka nagkuskusan or when it is rubbed against each other. They are rubbed against each other. Kaya, for example, dito sa friction, yung difference na number of electrons available on each other, so anong nangyayari? Yung electrons, it travels from one atom to the other. Okay? And, may mga instances, for example, mababa yung humidity because of cold weather. So, yung low humidity, they remove the stabilizing electrons from the air. So, nagkakaroon ng decrease ng resistance to the electron movement between the objects. Okay? So, yun. Dahil nga sobrang dry ng air. So, natatanggal yung stabilizing electrons mula sa hangin mismo. Okay? So, ang isa sa example niyan, for example, sa department, sa dark room. Okay? Kasi laging naka-aircon 24/7. So, may mga instances na baka napapabayaan niyo yung humidity. So, di ba sa dark room, meron lang tayong mine-maintain na 40 to 60% na humidity. Now, kung sobrang baba ng humidity, so ano mangyayari? Magkakaroon ng friction or mas prone sa friction yung, for example, yung film. Halimbawa, ilalagay mo siya sa, kahit yung simpleng paghawak mo sa film, tapos ididikit mo or ipapasok sa loob ng cassette, and accidentally kumuskus siya doon sa surface ng intensifying screen. So, ano mangyayari? So, magkakaroon ng statics because of low humidity. And once na na-develop niyo yun, guys, yung film na yun na merong statics, so, ganito yung magiging appearance niya. Okay, so, yan. All because of statics. Okay? So, di ba meron tayong tatlong sikat na static artifacts. Diba? Ano nga yung tatlong yun? So, bigay ako ng isa, yung crown. Crown. So, ano pa yung dalawa? Kung may crown, merong blank, at saka merong blank. Ano nga sila? Ano nga yung tatlong yun na static artifacts? Anyone? Tulog na ata. Ano nga yan? Ayun, smudge. Ano pa yung isa? Ayan, very good. Kala ko tulog na kayo eh. Okay, crown, tree, at smudge. Diba? Yung tatlong itsura na static. So, paano mape-prevent yun? So, ang solution is to increase the humidity or amount of water in the air. So, kaya minsan, naglalagay tayo ng humidifier. Okay? So, yung thin film ng moisture na yon, siya yung nagiging pathway for the distribution ng electrons. Okay? So, para ma-eliminate natin yung mga electrostatic charges that can cause those artifacts. Kaya mahal pa naman ang film. Okay? So, yun yung solution. And also, sa isang bahay na mababa ang humidity, okay, kahit yung simpleng, for example, this one, yung balloon, subukan mo ikuskus sa wool. Okay, di ba? Nagkakaroon na, ang mangyayari, yung balloon, didikit na siya dun sa wool. Or yung hair and comb. Di ba? Minsan pagka nagsusuklay tayo, tapos sobrang na statics, di ba? Minsan lumalagitik siya. Okay? So, yun ay nag-cause ng electrification because of friction or rubbing of two things. Okay? Another example of electrification is via contact. Okay? Kapag nagdikit ang dalawang object, so magkakaroon na ng access yung dalawang electrons para magpalipat-lipat. Okay? So, yung naibigay ko example, a metal doorknob or another person. Okay? Habang naglalakad siya across the rug at tumawag siya sa metal doorknob. Okay? So, ang mangyayari, para ma-equalize yung distribution ng electrons, so ta-travel siya from the doorknob to the person's hand. Okay? So, another example is yung electroscope. Itong electroscope, guys, ay pang-measure ng electrons. Yun naman talaga. Okay. Wait lang, inom lang ako tubig. Pero sobrang dry na ng ano ko. Okay. Guys, yung electroscope, isa siyang device na nagde-detect whether the object is electrically charged. Okay? So, anong nangyayari dyan? Itong foil leaves kasi, bumubuka yan. Okay, so, paano siya bumubuka? So, di ba, meron siyang metal knob or plate na nakakonect doon sa conducting rod. Okay, yun yung conducting rod. Ngayon, yung doon sa bottom ng thin metal leaves, so gawa yan sa gold or aluminum, ito. Kapag yung charge object ay dumikit, or yun yan, dumikit doon sa mismong knob, ito. So, anong nangyayari, yung charge ay nagta-travel papunta dun sa rod and yung parehas na leaves na ito, nagkakaroon din ng same charge. And, tulad na sabi ko kanina, like charges repel. So, once na mag-repel sila sa isa't isa, so bubuka yung foil leaves. Yan. Okay? So, again, ginagamit niya sa pag-detect ng electric charge. Okay? So, ito yung isa sa best demonstration ng electrostatic principles. Okay? Though, historically, ginagamit siya to detect ionizing radiation. Okay? So, ito ay isa sa mga basis dun sa mga early radiation measuring devices. Okay? So, yun nga, again, yung electroscope, ginagamit siya by detecting the presence of electric charge by the divergence nung metal thin leaves. Okay? So, kapag ka mataas yung yung number of electrons, so mas maglalayo pa yung dalawang leaves dito. Ayan yung yan yung electroscope. Okay? Another way of electrification ay itong induction. Okay? So, ito ay yung process wherein yung electrical fields are acting on another without contact. Okay, di ba? Meron tayong friction kung saan nag-occur yun by rubbing. Then, meron tayong contact as in pagka nagdikit lang. And we also have induction na nagkakaroon ng electrical fields acting on another but without contact. Okay? So, ito guys, ito nasa lower part. So, type ko yan. I-edit ko yan pagkatapos. So, na-copy ko lang yan accidentally kasi gusto ko magkakaparehas yung format ng isang slide. So, na-copy ko siya. Hindi ko na natanggal. Okay? So, I will give you an example of induction. So, we have induction motor. Okay? So, ito ay ginagamit guys para sa yung para mag-spin ang isang object like yung fan or dito sa ating X-ray tube para umikot si anode. Okay? So, pagmamasdan nyo, we have two parts. Yung stator at saka yung rotor. Okay? So, kung pagmamasdan nyo, again, yan. Yung two main parts, guys, para malaman nyo kung nasan yung stator at saka nasan yung rotor, tandaan nyo yung acronym na SORI. S-O-R-I. Okay? Ibig sabihin, stator outside, rotator inside. Okay? Again, yung SORI, ibig sabihin, stator outside, rotor inside. Okay? Yun yung parts ng induction motor. Now, ang stator, siya yung stationary part ng motor, yan yung hindi gumagalaw o yan yung hindi umiikot. Okay? So, meron yung mga coils na powered by the alternating voltage or AC voltage. Okay? Itong mga coils na ito, siya yung nagge-generate ng rotating magnetic field. Okay? So, ito isa sa application ng Faraday's law. Then, we have rotor, the rotating part. So, located yan inside the stator. Okay? Again, inside siya. Usually, yung design nito is squirrel cage or wound type. Okay? So, yung current dito ay nai-induce by the stator's magnetic field. Okay? And it produces the torque to spin or to spin the motor shaft. Okay? Yung shaft ng motor mismo. Okay? Or kung doon sa natin, para umikot yung shaft ng anode. Okay? So, malinaw po yung aking demonstration doon sa induction motor. Malinaw naman? Okay. Thank you, guys. So, ang last topic natin for today ay yung mga law ng electrostatics. So, simple lang yan. Gawin natin simple. So, itong first law, which is the repulsion attraction. So, simple lang yan. Pag like charges, guys, they will repel each other o ipupush out nila yung isa't isa. Ayaw nila yung isa't isa. Okay? And unlike charges, attract. Okay? So, kung makikita nyo, yung line of force ng mga charged particles, yung mga uncharged particles, actually, wala silang electric field. Okay? Pero, pagka positive charge siya, yung electric field nila ay nagra-radiate palabas. Okay? Pag positive. Okay? Palabas. Pag negative charge, ang electric field nila ay nagra-radiate papasok or toward. Okay, malinaw? Pag positive, palabas. Radiate ang positive vibes, ganun. And negative charge is paloob. Okay? Pagka uncharged particles, so wala silang electric field. Sundan? Next ay itong inverse square law. Okay, di ba ang inverse square law, di ba ginagamit natin yan sa X-ray intensity, di ba? Paglapit mo doon sa X-ray, so pagtaas ng intensity. And paglayo mo sa X-ray, so pagbaba ng intensity. Okay? So by definition, the force between two charges is directly proportional to the product of their magnitudes and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Square of the distance. Okay? So, kung sa intensity yan, for example, umatras ka ng 3 times. So, ang mangyayari, pag umatras ka ng 3 times, yung intensities bababa ng 9 times. Diba? Ganun yung law ng mga square, diba? Or, pag lumapit ka ng 2 beses, so yung intensity na matatanggap mo is 4 times. Diba? Kasi ini-square natin yung quantity. Right? So, ganun din guys sa electrostatic force. Okay? It is very strong kapag yung objects are close, but it decreases rapidly as the objects separate. Okay? Again, yung inverse square law na to ay katulad din ng demonstration natin for X-ray intensity. Okay? So, yun din yung sinasabi kay Coulomb's law. So, yun yung parang pinaka-essence. Okay? Diba? Ito, ginaya lang natin yung statement. Electrostatic force is directly proportional to the product of electrostatic charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Okay? So, very, very similar do sa inverse square law. Yung sinasabi ng intensity of the Coulomb's law. Diba? Yan. And meron pa siyang formula ganyan. Don't worry, hindi naman tayo magfo-focus actually sa computation, sa ganyang computation. Okay? Ang kailangan nyo lang malaman talaga ay yung essence. Why they come up dun sa ganong theory. Okay? And yun nga, may representation about formula actually. Okay? Next ay yung distribution. Pagka pinag-usapan natin yung distribution ng electricity o ng charges, to be specific. Okay, so guys, depende sa shape. Okay? So yung charges, kapag nasa external surface sila ng conductors, so equally magkakahiwalay sila. Okay? So yung law na yon is a result of effect of a repulsion attraction law. Okay? As electrons with all the negative charges, they attempt to repel each other as much as possible. Hanggat kaya nilang maglayo, maglalayo-layo sila. Okay? Kaya uniformly and equally distributed sila sa surface. Okay, tulad nito. Okay? So, yung with electrified copper wire, so yung mga excess electrons, they are distributed on the other on the outer surface. Okay? So, ayan. Magkakahiwalay sila and uniform. Pero, iba ang usapan kapag ka nagbago yung shape. Okay? So, for example, this one. Yung sa concentration, tingnan nyo. Kapag ka even yung surface, like this circle and yung ovoid, o yung medyo round na rectangle, so, tingnan nyo. Ayos yung pagkakahiwa-hiwalay nila. Pero pagka may pointed na area, so magdidikit-dikit yon doon sa pointed region na yon. So, kaya ang concentration lagi ng electricity ay laging nasa dulo. Okay? The same as this, itong cattle prod. Yan. Yung cattle prod, ginagamit yan sa, para makakuha ng tissue dun sa karne ng, for example, dun sa baka. So, makakuha ng tissue. Okay? So, ayan. Nasa dulo yung concentration niya. So, ito yung sunod na electrostatic law. Okay, when it comes to concentration, yung electric charge ng conductor is concentrated along the sharpest curvature of the surface. Okay? And balik ulit tayo, may nakalimutan tayo sa distribution. Okay? So, yung sa isang solid conductor, this results in equal distribution on the surface and yun nga, which is the point where electrons can obtain maximum distance from each other as long as even yung surface. Okay? Pero sa mga bagay na non-conductor tulad ng cloud, okay, yung charge movement nila ay hindi facilitated and still naman, equal ang distribution nila throughout the object. Pero, kapag ang isang diffused na non-conductor tulad ng thundercloud ay na-electrified, okay, so yung electric charges are distributed rather than uniformly throughout. Okay, so kaya ang ginagawa nila, di ba, nagbabawas ng electrons sa pamamagitan ng thunder and binibigay nila sa ground. Okay? So, yun yung reason doon. Okay? And, dito, sa movement naman. Okay? So, tandaan nyo guys, tulad nung dinescribe ko kanina doon sa kinompute natin, so, only negative charges move along the solid conductors. Okay? Yung protons guys, yung positive, so tightly bound sila inside the atomic nuclear field. Okay? Bukod doon sa bigat niya, is yung lapit niya mismo doon sa nuclear field. Okay? Kaya only yung electrons, which exist outside the nucleus, are easily moved along the conductors. Okay? Malinaw? So, again, we have yun nga, yung repulsion attraction. Then, we have yung inverse square law, or to be specific, itong Coulomb's law. So, para ma-explain ko lang sa inyo ng ayos, ini-apply ko din yung inverse square law. And, sa distribution, okay, pagka uniform yung surface, so, distributed siya. And kapag may pointed, tulad dito sa fourth na law, yung concentration, so, nasa dulo, or concentrated siya sa isang pointed na area. And lastly, do sa movement, ang gumagalaw lang guys ay negative charges, which are the electrons. Okay? Any questions or clarification? Any questions or clarification, guys? Nasundan naman yung lecture? Anyone? Any question? Okay. Okay. So, isasend ko na lang ito. Sorry. Nabubul na talaga. Okay. Isasend ko na lang siya, guys. Siguro mamayang mga 8:00. Okay. mag-aano lang ako, magpe-prepare kasi ako ay night duty pa. Okay, so doon na lang pagdating ko sa ospital saka ako bubulat-latin uli itong material. Okay? So kailangan lang may mag-remind sa akin kasi baka makalimutan ko na siya. Okay? So sige guys, kung may clarification or question, pwede nyo uli akong i-chat. Okay, and kung may quiz siguro, i-announce ko naman bago tayo bumanat. Okay? So, thank you for listening guys. I hope na marami kayo natutunan kahit na ako malat pa. Okay, bawi ako susunod pagka maganda na yung boses natin. Okay? Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you. Basta kayo may question guys o clarification, don't hesitate to ask me. Okay? Thank you. Ingat din guys. Rest well. Thank you.